The movie starts in 2007. Cherry, a 23-year-old guy, decides to rob a bank with his truck. He's been feeling down and hopeless for a while, and robbing banks isn't new to him. He knows exactly what to do. He walks into the bank, fires a shot to scare everyone, and demands money. But then, he looks at the teller and a wave of sadness washes over him. He has a flashback to 2002. Back then, Cherry was a college student. He fell in love with his classmate Emily, but he already had a girlfriend named Madison from high school. He'd visit Madison on weekends, but things got weird when he saw how popular she was with other guys at parties. He even got a job at a restaurant, but he was so bad at making dough that he got fired after just 2 weeks. After work, he went to see his best friend James, who'd lost his parents when he was young. They decided to go to the bank with James's friend Roy and his cousin Joe, who was about to join the Marines. James tried to talk Roy out of letting Joe enlist, but their plans got messed up when James's car caught fire. Cherry's bank problem still wasn't fixed, and they had to walk back to James's house. The next day, Cherry met some kids who wanted Xanax, a medicine he took for panic attacks. They invited him to a party, and he decided to go after getting high. At the party, he was surprised to see Emily. They talked and even kissed. He felt like she understood his sadness, but Emily had her own problems with her parents and didn't believe in love. She decided to break up with Cherry and move to Montreal to study. Despite his pleas, she leaves, so he enlists in the U.S. Army as a medic to find purpose. At first, the officers see him as a joke, but he proves himself and signs up for 2 years of service, hoping to find fulfillment and overcome his sadness. Cherry's friends don't know about his decision and try to convince Joe not to join the army, fearing he will suffer like James's brother. But James doesn't know that Cherry has also enlisted. Cherry gets a call from Emily, asking for a final meeting. He arranges to meet her at the restaurant where he works, hoping for a private farewell. However, Emily brings her friend Benji, upsetting Cherry. Devastated, he finds comfort from the restaurant owner and connects with a guest named Tommy, who later drives him home. Cherry is surprised to find Emily at his house. She apologizes for her actions. They spend time together, and she confesses she has decided not to go to Montreal because she loves Cherry. He, however, reveals that he has joined the army. They agree to pursue their paths separately, but get married before his deployment in 2003. During basic training, he befriends Jimenez and undergoes grueling tasks, including witnessing a fellow soldier's suicide attempt. He and Jimenez pass their medical training and are deployed to Iraq. In the war zone, Cherry faces his fears but is encouraged by Jimenez. He tends to wounded soldiers, witnessing the horrors of war firsthand. After returning to camp, he and his comrades grapple with the emotional toll of their experiences, having witnessed 8 casualties. On their first day stationed in the perilous triangle of death, they are filled with fear, knowing the dangers that await them throughout the year. Despite the constant threat, they diligently patrol the area, keeping a watchful eye for any signs of danger. At night, they tend to the wounded Iraqis, forging a deep bond as they navigate the challenges together. On patrol, Cherry worries about a risky route, but his warning is ignored. Their vehicle gets stuck in quicksand, leaving them vulnerable. Jimenez and others go for help, but an explosion engulfs their vehicle. Cherry finds them badly burned, including Jimenez, and has to collect his remains. He feels incredibly alone and reaches out to Emily and Vince to cope. After his service in 2005, Cherry returns home a hero. He receives the Medal of Valor, but feels empty inside. Emily's there for him, and she takes him to a house she built. He starts night classes and works during the day, but his war trauma haunts him. He has PTSD and anxiety, leading to sleep problems and Xanax abuse. Emily gets frustrated with his behavior and starts taking Xanax too. James falls into addiction and gets arrested. Cherry bails him out, and they spend more time together. Worried about Emily and his own neglect, Cherry seeks help. His doctor prescribes OxyContin, which he abuses. Seeing Emily struggle and neglecting his responsibilities, Cherry spirals further. They both take his medications, reminiscing about better times as they sink deeper into addiction. They become dependent on OxyContin and other substances, leading to financial ruin. Desperate for money, Cherry turns to his dealer, pills, and coke, who trusts him with a safe. They break into it, only to find it filled with drugs. They indulge, but mistake a visitor for the police and get rid of the remaining stuff. The visitor turns out to be pills and coke, furious at the empty safe. He warns them that his boss, Black, will seek revenge. Fearing for their lives, Cherry robs a bank with a note implying he's armed. He gets the money, keeps some, and they celebrate. Joe alerts Cherry to the police's interest, prompting him to hide. He spends his money on drugs until it runs out. Cherry resorts to robbing more banks, using the same tactic to fuel their addiction. He remains indebted to pills and coke, and involves them in a heist. He returns home to Emily's frustration at her lack of stuff. Cherry shoots Emily up with drugs, and she nearly dies. The doctor tells him she's lucky to be alive. Emily's mom blames Cherry and kicks him out, but Emily escapes rehab and goes back to him, even though he tries to send her away. Back home, they keep using drugs and run out of money. Cherry, the brilliant mastermind, teams up with pills and coke and the ever-reliable James to rob a bunch of banks at once. During the heist, James freaks out and runs away, leaving Cherry and pills and coke to handle it. Pills and coke, known for their level-headedness, start freaking out, so Cherry takes charge. This, unsurprisingly, pisses off pills and coke, who ditch him in the bank. Stuck and alone, Cherry finally realizes he's screwed. He barely escapes the bank and worries his friends will sell him out. He convinces James, ever the pillar of strength, to help him find pills and coke. They find pills and coke shot and bleeding, but James, the quick thinker, decides they shouldn't help because it might put them at risk. So, they ditch their wounded friend by the side of the road. The next day, Cherry, Emily, and their trusty dog are chilling at home when Black, a real winner, shows up demanding money and threatening Emily. Cornered, Cherry decides to do one last heist. He says goodbye to Emily, knowing he might not make it back. Back at the bank, Cherry, the picture of subtlety, demands money and sets off the alarm. He gives the cash to Black and then, in a display of pure genius, walks down the middle of the street and fires a gun in the air. High as a kite by the side of the road, Cherry waits for the cops to show up. The sirens get closer, marking the end of his wild ride. After 14 years in prison, he finally gets out in 2021. Emily, ever the loyal one, is there to greet him with open arms. The end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, hit that notification bell, and like to support the channel.